the Mariners have made some moves, and you guys have talked about the Mariners a pretty good amount this offseason. Unfortunately, I'd say more of it has been infamously rather than things they've done well. And I'll just throw this to you because I know you and the rest of the baseball world have brought it up, us included, a ton this winter. But when you heard 54% for the first time, what was your reaction? Like, you hear Jerry DiPoto utter those words, you think what?
I think about merchandise, right? T-shirts. I think there's somebody who's going to make a lot of money in the parking lot outside of the ballpark for opening day, where people will show up, and if they don't already have something that has that number on there, then they'll have it now, right? It is a number that is going to stick with the franchise until they win a World Series, right? We all had a number in our minds for 2 decades plus, right? What was the number?
21.
2001 or 21, right? So that was the number. That number is gone. They made the playoffs. The new number is 54% because who cares what the explanation is? It doesn't matter. The number has to do with the decision to stand in mediocrity in terms of payroll at a time when this is their winning window. So that's what it stands for. I don't care about the rest. That's what it stands for. Hey, are we putting ourselves in a position where if the cards go our way, we make the playoffs? Or are we going to be like teams that either go for it all the time, which they should be? They're essentially a big market team in terms of how they should be operating. Or at the very least, are we pushing all of our chips in when it's the time, which is now? Because I think any Mariners fan would agree that if they push their chips in for the next 2 to 3 years and then they scale back again, which they've done in the past, everyone would be okay, right? If their payroll was $200 million over the next couple of years, and then they won a World Series, and then they scaled back and some of their guys got expensive or left in free agency and they kind of reset, would you guys be okay?
Yep. Yep. They could go on another 22-year drought. I wouldn't care.
The Cubs did that, right? The Cubs tanked, won a World Series. The glory days were not as long, I think, as anticipated, but they still had a run. They had some postseason appearances around that. And then they reset. And their fans were generally okay until now, where they're like demanding them to go for it again and get back involved. They haven't done anything this offseason, but I think they will. So I'm not as concerned about them. But that model works. The problem in Seattle is that model is now never happening, right? Tanked, brought payroll down significantly, now won't even bring it back up to what it was many years ago. And usually, like, payroll should be going this way, just given how money is going up, right? In terms of what a payroll should look like in natural inflation, especially in a game where the revenue does go up. And the team has done super, super well. I give them a ton of credit. Like, from a business standpoint, top 10 attendance, they're doing a lot of things correctly. What they're not doing is figuring out when they should be pushing their chips in and how they're playing the PR game too. Because I've done a lot of digging on what the TV situation looks like for them. And I don't know everything because there's been no transparency from the tippy top at ownership in terms of what's going on. That's another good way to piss people off, is to not tell them the facts. But when you have a network that's going to go to a different tier, sports package wise, and you're concerned that people are going to not subscribe to paying more for Mariners games, I know that if I was an owner and I was concerned about that, I would kick ass in the offseason so that I made sure that everyone's like, I can't not have this package. I got to watch every Mariners game. We just traded for Juan Soto. Like, let's go, baby, right? That's a trade they should have made, or that's a kind of player that they should have looked into that would have had Mariners fans freaking out this offseason, and nobody's canceling his subscription. What they've done right now, and the precedent that they've set, unfortunately, for their front office, I feel bad for Jerry DiPoto, is that he has to make magic with the same payroll when players get more expensive too, right? When guys go into arbitration like a Logan Gilbert, he's saying, hey, Jerry, you have to make magic, get us back in the playoffs with the same payroll. How are fans supposed to react to that? I've already seen it. I have fans reaching out to us on our DMs, social media, Twitter replies, go down the line, tons of YouTube comments. And they're like, F this, I'm not subscribing to that, right? Even if they do surprise us, they're like, you're not doing what you promised as a franchise. So in my mind, then they're going to use the TV excuse, but you screwed yourself over with the TV excuse by not giving fans a reason to subscribe to a premium tier package.
So off of volume aside, what you just mentioned, wanting to create the most valuable product possible that Kimmy can't miss. Is that not exactly what the Dodgers, Yankees, and Red Sox have historically done to put themselves in this position they are in right now?
Wait, elaborate. Give me more.
In terms of making a valuable product and making their RSNs that much more valuable, like the Yes Network, nobody in New York is going to be like, I can't have Yes. Like, I'm good. I'll pass on Yes. It's like, well, actually, I do really want to have Yes because I can't miss Yankee games. And they built up that a generational pull to their network. And it's the same with Nesson. And the Dodgers channel name has changed over the years. I think it's Spectrum now, but people want to watch the Dodgers. And now they're going to have hundreds of millions of more people who want to watch the Dodgers over in Japan as well. So I would say bring it back to that. So something that the Red Sox, Yankees, and Dodgers have done over the years is the reason their RSNs are that valuable.
So the Mariners have to realize from the top that we are in the entertainment business. We are not in the mathematics business. You're not going to teach fans a math equation to get them to subscribe to your product. And you are spot on. And by the way, I just want to mix this in because I thought of this when we were talking about Dodgers and I didn't spit it out yet. But do you know what the Dodgers did last offseason? Do you guys remember?
Not really.
Much.
Yeah,
they waited.
They got under the luxury tax to set themselves up for Ohtani and Yamamoto.
Sure. And guess what? Last offseason, there wasn't a ton of complaint. The general consensus in my mind from fans was, let's go, baby. We're loading up for Shohei Ohtani. And they have delivered. They obviously have delivered even more than that. And some of that's thanks to Ohtani, who had the idea of the deferrals. But you're spot on, TJ, because those teams have made themselves valuable from a TV network or even digital network, whatever you want to call it these days, right? Perspective, from a franchise perspective, which I think we're vastly underrating with the Dodgers, is how much they can sell a jersey patch for, how much they're going to dominate baseball internationally for years to come, and how much that helps people traveling to the United States and saying, oh, I want to go to LA because I want to go to a Dodger game because I want to see all those freaking players that they just brought in. That's the merchandise and the jersey sales that I want to buy. Even internationally, I'm sure they'll have a big ass deal with a place like NHK. So you're spot on. That's the way that those teams have thought for years. The Red Sox are actually taking a step back right now, and it is going to hurt them. But I just think there are a lot of decision makers in our game that just can't get over when they're not profiting like crazy and they set that market, right? Billionaires generally are numbers people. They're obsessed with numbers, everything, even probably little things in life. I've come across quite a few in my life where they're cracking numbers on things that I'm like, I'm the person stepping in with my little salary going, why do you care? Like, you're rich. Don't worry about that. Just get a car service. Like, what are you doing? You know, stuff like that. So I think that obsession can hurt people. And especially sometimes when it's the next generation. I mean, we're seeing that in Oakland. That's a daddy money person who has no concept of reality. And that's why he just, every single step he takes is right into a gutter. So yeah, you're spot on. They're just not looking at this the right way. It's very obvious. And if I was wrong, if you were wrong, if anyone was wrong, they would come out and tell us. There's a reason why there's been zero word from the tippy top. That's when people keep their mouths shut, when they don't have anything good to say. And if they got questions, the answers would be ugly.
I know we've got a few more minutes left with you, but you guys have had Paul Sewald on a decent amount now over the last few months, and especially this offseason. When you've asked him about the Mariners and listening to some of the answers he's given, what have you learned from him about how players are feeling in that clubhouse?
I think we should point to someone else that's been on the show recently who spoke at the end of the year. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Cal.
Yeah, Cal. Cal's the man. He's awesome. He is a G for saying that. And I know in our sport, players can be worried, especially before they get their big contract, about saying something like that. But they shouldn't be. The right teams will look at a player like that and be like, that's a winner. That's a transparent player. That's a guy that's obsessed with winning. That's the quarterback of a team. It's a guy who's been so valuable for them. So I think Cal Raleigh's comments speak to me. Paul's comments speak because I think the shock factor was there too, where he's like, I'm the closer on a team. And I get parts of why they made that deal last year. But really, for me, I just think trade a prospect or two if you're trying to bring in, some more depth and a few guys that have more contact oriented approaches, right? Which I think was partially the explanation for who they acquired. Trading away your closer at a time like that just made no sense to me. So We even made fun of it the other day. That's just not what winning teams do. And again, that's just putting Jerry Dipoto in a losing position. I will say he's the right man for the job there, because if you are given the same bar on a yearly basis, even though salaries inflate, he is the guy that's going to make crafty trades to at least try and put you in a better position. So I'm not knocking what he's done this offseason. He's playing within his parameters, and they might be a better team. I think there's a little more upside this year, but there's also more risk, right? Like Mitch Garver's a perfect example of that. Dude can freaking hit. He can slug lefties as well as anyone in baseball. Also hasn't been able to stay on the field. Same with Mitch Haniger over the last few years. So that's what you're looking at with a team like this. I'm not saying I don't like them. And the reason I have so much passion specifically with Mariners fans, I am an insomniac. I watched so much Mariners baseball the last few years. I love Dave Sims. I think he's one of the best play-by-play dudes in the game. So whenever he's on, I automatically want to listen to him. So there's passion there, and that's why we're able to relate to fan bases that don't have anywhere else to go. Team shows like yours, absolutely. But from a national perspective, you're not going to get this on other shows, right? This kind of passion and transparency. And it's not just me, but Ken Rosenthal and AJ Pierzynski calling out specific names, right? Like John Stanton, and being like, dude, what are you doing right now? That's what you need. You need therapy sessions for your fans if the teams aren't going to do it.
Last question for me, Scott. So you mentioned Jerry's the perfect guy for this job. How much of that has to do with his previous stop with the Angels and how that situation ended and how he's learned to deal with subpar upper management?
Oh, yeah. That's a great call. You dealt with Artie Moreno. I mean, Jerry's had it rough, if you think about it, in terms of who your boss is, right? You wake up one day, you think, I'm sure there was a point in life where he thought he might be able to recruit and sign Shohei Ohtani. And he woke up one day and ownership said, hey, we're going to have a little meeting. And they said, not only are we not going after Shohei, but payroll's staying the same for next year, bud. I know you've been waiting for this moment for many years to be able to strike and bring us up to a more realistic range, but it ain't happening. So get crafty, baby, because you're my front man and I pay you millions of dollars so that you can take the hit and not me. So yeah, that's why I can't say it enough. I've been very impressed with what Jerry's done this offseason to be creative, but it's the same thing. Like, I think Robbie Ray is going to be good when he comes back for San Francisco. Did the Mariners need that player? No, but then the asset was traded to dump money. I mean, they ended up, dumping $50 million on the back end of that contract. He's just in a really difficult spot. So I like the Mariners. I think they're a playoff contender, but I think we can all agree that they have massively whiffed with their fan base, and just having a little more wiggle room on payroll would have made all the world a difference. We're not having a conversation about any free agents, right? Like, we've been able to easily shoot it down based on what's been said. We've had fans be like, I think Chapman would be a good fit there. I think Bellinger would be a good fit there. I think Soto would be a good fit there. And we're able to confidently 100% say that ain't happening.